There's a version of leadership that looks composed from the outside and feels like a locked room from the inside. You didn't decide to build the wall. You just kept choosing distance, one reasonable decision at a time. And then one day you notice something. Nobody brings you anything early anymore. In this episode, I talked to Arthur L. Adams Jr. He spent decades as a senior executive at CSX. And he wrote a book recently called Servant Leaders Finish First. Here's a snippet of some of that conversation. One of the benefits, it seems, of this idea of servant leadership is it breaks down that wall that causes isolation.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes we have conflated this idea of disengagement with power and strength and the unwillingness to be vulnerable. And I think it is not grounded in fact or truth. I think it's quite opposite.
This is the Private Leadership Reset podcast, and I'm Ryan Watts. I work with leaders at the point where success stops feeling honest. They're not failing and they're not lost. They're just quietly out of agreement with themselves. And my guest today is Arthur L. Adams. Arthur spent his career as a senior executive at CSX, one of the largest freight rail companies in North America. He joined in 2007 and was promoted to senior vice president of sales in 2020. He went on to lead merchandise sales and marketing, running the industrial products, food and agriculture, fertilizer, and regional portfolios. That's the kind of organization where distance from your people is not a preference. It's just structural. It's already there before you decide anything about it. But he now works with leaders on what he calls the inner work. His book's called Servant Leaders Finish First. It's not a tactics book. It's a 52 weeks reflection guide built for the moments when decisions get heavy and you're not sure the leader you're being is the one you're meant to become. So when Arthur talks about the separation a leader has to keep, he's not theorizing. He was running an organization big enough that the separation was handed to him. Today's about that separation, specifically what happened to it when nobody told you where it was supposed to stop. Now, let me describe a leader. He's respected. His organization performs well. His meetings run on time. His one-on-ones are efficient, and they're almost entirely status updates. People are polite with him, but nobody complains. Nothing's wrong. And he's the last person in his own organization to find out anything. Problems reach him after they've already been solved or after they've already become expensive. Somebody knew 3 weeks ago. It's just never made it up the chain. He assumes this is a communication issue. And so he adds a reporting layer. He asks for more visibility. He gets more sides. The information still arrives late. And here's the second thing. This one's quieter. He drives home and realizes he didn't say one true thing all day, not one. Every sentence was correct. Every sentence was appropriate. And none of them were his. He's not lonely in the way people mean when they use that word. He has a family. He has friends. He has a life. He is isolated inside the role. And it didn't happen through a decision. That's the part we're sitting with. There's no moment where he chooses it. Somebody on his team says something personal. Their kid's struggling. Something at home is hard. And he feels a pull, a real one. A human response is there. It's sitting in his chest, ready to go. And he routes it through a filter. He gives the correct response instead of a true one. Warm, brief, professional. Then he moves the conversation back to work. Nobody notices, not even him. And it takes about a half second. He does that on 8 times a day for 6 years. That is how walls get built. And it's not by decision, it's by repetition. So here's what's actually happening here, because I think most leaders misdiagnose it. Somewhere early in your career, someone told you that leadership requires distance. You can't be everyone's friend. You'll have to make decisions about people you like. Don't blur the line. That was good advice. It was true then, and it's truer now. But here's what nobody told you. They gave you distance. They didn't give you the floor. Nobody told you where the separation stops. And Arthur can tell you where his stopped. Most executives at that level can't. Listen how precisely he draws it.
What I believe is that as a leader, you certainly need to, there is a degree of separation that is required in order to lead effectively, right? As I was coaching my senior leaders, like, hey, it's probably not a good idea, that to hang out with the folks that you lead on the weekends and have these very deep, social relationships. Doesn't mean that you can't be respectful and you can't be engaged, but there is a degree of separation, I think, that is required in order to effectively lead.
Weekends, deep social relationships, that's the line. It has edges. You could write it on an index card. Most leaders can't do that. Ask a leader where separation ends, and he or she gets vague. He gestures at professionalism. He says something about boundaries. If you can't say where the distance stops, you don't have a boundary. You have something directional. And a direction, well, it keeps going. Now, there's a second piece here, and this one's harder. There's a belief underneath this, and it's almost never said out loud. And the belief is that being unreadable is the same as being strong. That if nobody can tell what you're thinking, you're in control. That composure and concealment are the same skill, but they're not. Being unreadable is not authority. It's a costume that looks like authority from a distance. And here's what it truly costs you. Every time you feel the pull, you say something true, and you route it through that filter instead, you pay a small tax. And it is tiny. You barely feel it, but it compounds. And eventually, it stops feeling like a choice at all. It becomes who you are at work. That's the first cost. And here's the second. And this one lands on other people. Your team needs a version of you in order to work with you. They need to know how you think, what you care about, what you'll do when things get hard. If you don't give them one, they build one. And the one they build is almost always harsher than the real one. People fill silence with the worst available explanation. That's just what we do as people. So they're not managing you. They're managing the version of you they invented, which is why the information arrives late. It was never a communication problem. So what does the other version look like? And I'm not talking about the version where you tear the wall down and start doing shots with your direct reports. That's not the alternative. And Arthur is very clear about that. But remember the scale. Arthur was running sales for a Class 1 railroad. Thousands of people. Multiple layers between him and most of them. He couldn't have removed the distance if he wanted to. So he did something else. He kept the distance and built a second channel to carry what the distance blocks.
Now, we can't use that as an excuse not to engage. And so how are some ways for you to engage? You know, one of the strategies that I used is I would have skip level meetings. So that gave me an opportunity to reach further into the organization, cast a wider net, and to understand more about the folks that I was leading, and more importantly, for them to learn more about me.
He didn't fix the distance by removing it. He kept it and he built around it. And listen to the order in that last sentence to understand more about the folks he was leading. And more importantly, for them to learn more about me. More importantly, he said, more importantly, most leaders would have that backwards. If they run skip level meetings at all, they run them to gather. Which brings me to the part that matters most. And it's one sentence that most people would skip right past.
Right. And to create an environment that we could have a dialogue. And I wasn't taking notes. I wasn't pumping them for information.
Yeah.
It was truly around connecting in an authentic way and then being able to share my story.
And I want to slow down here because there's a version of connection that a lot of capable leaders run, and it's extraction with a warm tone. You schedule the meeting, the skip level meeting. You ask good questions and you listen well. And the whole time you're collecting. What's really going on down there? Who is struggling? What is my VP not telling me? You're not being fake. You're being efficient. You build a relationship container and put an intelligence operation inside. But people could tell. They can always tell. The moment someone senses your listening has a purpose, they can feel, they just start managing you. They give you the version that's safe to give. So you run the skip level and you get nothing real. And you conclude that skip levels just don't work. The skip level worked fine. You showed up as a collector, a senior vice president, walking into a skip level meeting with no notebook. That's not softness. That's somebody who understood what a notebook does to a room. And then he shares his story and he goes first. That's the part that costs something. That's the part most leaders skip because going first is exposure. And exposure feels like the exact thing the distance was supposed to protect. So here's the contrast. And this is really the whole episode here. A boundary has a shape. It tells you where the distance ends. A wall doesn't have a shape. It just keeps going until it meets another wall. You were handed a boundary and it became a wall nobody drew the far edge of. And because every single day you had a small opportunity to stop short of it, it was always easier not to. I tell you to be more vulnerable. That's advice. And advice is not what's missing here. What's missing is evidence. So go gather some. 3 questions to sit with this week. 1, where exactly does my separation end? And I want you to say it out loud in 1 sentence. If you can't finish the sentence, you don't have a boundary. You have a direction. And it's been running unsupervised for years now. 2, in the last month, when did I feel the pull to say something true and route it through professionalism instead? Find one, a specific one, and then ask what professionalism was actually protecting in that moment. Sometimes it was protecting the other person, and sometimes it was protecting the work, but sometimes it was protecting you. And all 3 are real. You just want to know which one was the loudest. 3, what version of me is my team currently running on? Not what version you intended, what version they have. And if you've never given them one, they built one. And they're using it right now to decide what to bring to you and what to handle quietly. And then 1 experiment. If you want even harder evidence, 1 conversation. No agenda, no notes, somebody 2 levels down. You go first. 1 true thing about yourself that cost you something small to say. Not a confession, just something real that you would normally file under not relevant. Then do nothing with it. Don't follow up. Don't ask for anything back. Don't send a recap. And here's what you're measuring, because it's not how the conversation felt. Watch what arrives next week. Whether anything reaches you earlier than it used to. That's evidence. Information arriving early is the only reliable signal that the wall has a door in it now. Because the distance, that wasn't the problem. The problem is that nobody ever told you where it stops. And you've been paying for that every day since. Leadership, it doesn't get lighter when you get further away. It gets lighter when it gets honest. My guest was Arthur L. Adams Jr., former Senior Vice President of Merchandise Sales and Marketing at CSX, and author of Servant Leaders Finish First. If you want more of his thinking, the book is a 52-week format, 1 reflection at a time. It's built for exactly the kind of leader who doesn't have room for another framework. If something in this episode landed, sit with it before you do anything. Recognition does more work than action here. Action tends to come out sideways when it comes too fast. This is the Private Leadership Reset. And everything here lives at privateleadershipreset.com. If you lead people and something in this was closer to home than you expected, that's usually the signal. And you can find out how I work with leaders at ryanwattscoaching.com. I'm Ryan Watts. Thank you for listening. For some leaders, hearing this podcast will be enough. But if something felt familiar, and you know leadership has started to cost more energy than it should, the Private Leadership Reset may be the next right step. This is a private coaching container for capable leaders who want to reduce internal friction, restore calm authority, and make cleaner decisions without forcing momentum. It's not about adding more strategy. It's about restoring internal agreement so leadership feels clear, steady, and sustainable again. You can learn more and apply at ryanwattscoaching.com/reset.